Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Tackle Shop Live.
Sunny day, right there you took my breath away. A young and pretty, was it just a dream?
How's everybody doing tonight? Bob Donahue's in the house. How you doing, Bob? Scott Luckoff. Galen Heathcote's here. How you doing, Galen? Chris Benninger. Charlie Esterly. How are you, Charlie? Yeah, baby. Gary Lee, what do you say, Gary Lee? Robert Donahue, Mike Hayer, how you doing, man? Good seeing everybody. Michael Bradley, man, we got a great show for you guys tonight. Ed M's in the house. What's up, Ed M? Danny Paus is here. David Schottemeyer. Man, we got all the old school guys here. The OGs are in the house, man. Good to see everybody. Conway Hayden, what's up, Conway? How are you doing, buddy? Robert Bretz is here. Jeff Reed, Freezy Flyer, and Warren Garrill. Man, we got a great show for you guys tonight, man. We got a special guest on standby. Matt Stefan's here, and he is going to talk about the strolling technique. They call it hover rigging, they call it all kinds of names, but we're confused on it. It's something that we've been trying to practice, and recently we got the heads from Matt's company called Core Tackle Heads. So we got all his cool looking heads. They're all in stock right now, and he's going to go over how to rig them, what the deal is with it, and really how to fish it. And that's what we're going to get to, the nitty and the gritty on how to fish it. So that's exciting tonight. But anyway, my name is Mike Acord. This is George Acord. Another special guest, Greg Dipalma, is in the house. Greg's here today. How you doing, Greg? And behind the camera is cameraman Nick.
I'm doing well.
Yeah. Greg's here today. He's up fishing the Kayak Series tournament. We're going to talk to him a little bit about that. And, he's going to join our show in here. Tammy Geeman's here. Jerry Otto. How's everybody doing? Michael Jaward, how are you doing? Jack Hinkle. We got a lot of guys chiming in, and I hope more are watching. And if you guys are able, please tap your like and share buttons and let everybody know that this is on and the show's on, and that would help us out immensely, and we would appreciate that very much. So Greg,
Mike,
how's everything?
Oh man, it's wonderful.
Great to have you in the house.
It's always good to be at Susquehanna Fish. It's even better staying at George's house. That's the best part.
That's the ultimate bachelor pad up there, man.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah. 2 boats in the garage.
2 boats in the garage, full of tackle. I just go shopping while I'm there.
Yeah.
Good times.
Right on. Well, we're going to talk with Greg here in a little bit, but right now I want to bring on our special guest of the night. And this is, say hello to everybody. This is Matt Stefon.
Hey guys,
hey,
thanks
Matt.
for having me on.
Right on, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We got our first blast of cold fall weather today. So I spent the morning chasing some smallmouth, and I'm a happy camper.
Oh, nice. Are they working out for you? Are they getting ready to feed up?
Yeah, they our water temps are still in the mid 60s here, which is pretty odd for this time of year, but the fish know what's happening. They've been chewing pretty good the last couple of weeks. They've got little pot bellies on them, and they're starting to feed up for the winter.
So where are you, and what's your body of water that you fish?
Yeah, so I'm located basically right dead smack in the center of Wisconsin. From a body of water standpoint, I've got the Wisconsin River, which runs right. I mean, I live right on the Wisconsin River, so that's kind of my stomping grounds. But from a national standpoint, yeah, Sturgeon Bay is a place I love to go. The Mississippi
Mm,
River is another place I love to go. So those are both about
mhm.
2 hour drives from the house.
Oh, absolutely. Tell me something. Is that a shallow river behind your house?
Yeah, I mean it's not quite the Susquehanna, but it's got a lot of rapids, got a lot of shallow, fast moving water in certain stretches. They pretty much dammed it up I'm going to say every 20 miles or so. So you've at the top ends of the pools, you've got, a lot of really fast moving water, a lot of current sections where if you got a small boat, you might be able to get up some of it. I just bought a little jet drive so I could explore some of these some of these
Oh,
stretches above some of the rapids, but the lower sections of each pool fish more like a lake, I'd say.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what we have on a lower part of the Susquehanna. We have a dam, a pool, top of the pool is shallow, rocky,
Yep.
then another dam, and then, a pool. And then we have like 4 dams or 5 dams. And then above that is natural flowing river. So then it's all jet boat, real shallow water,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So, you'll see, up there it's all jet boats, and down here they run big glass boats and stuff pretty similar to what you have. So that's cool.
Yep.
That's pretty similar to what we like to do and like to fish. But so tonight, we've been these rigs are driving me freaking crazy. I mean, there's a rig. I mean, you name it, just throw a name out there. There's a rig for it. You know what I mean? There's so many rigs, Dominky, Nico. I get them mixed up all the time. Guys are asking me questions about this stuff. It's so confusing, but we want to really understand what the hover rig is and why and
Yeah.
how and the rigging and the baits and and how do why would you want to do that as opposed to something else? That's kind of like where we're at on this journey of these rigs. It's a lot of people are confused on it. So what do you think about it?
Well, there's a lot of new techniques, a lot of new products coming out where everybody wants to call it some form of rig. With respect to Core Tackle and myself with the hover rig, the background on that really just comes down to the true technique is called hover strolling. And it's a technique where you take a small plastic bait, you insert a 90-degree jig head about a 1/4 inch behind the head of the worm, and then you insert a nail weight in the front of the bait. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're creating a bait that has a very good gliding motion, very good spiraling motion, and an erratic fall at a very slow pace. So it's a very enticing to the fish, and it works phenomenally well. So I started doing this. I want to say in the fall of what would have been 2021. I mean, it's been around for a while, and I really started messing around quite a bit with it last spring on a bunch of my local lakes. We've got a lot of gin clear natural bodies of water where your finesse tactics really come into play. And I started doing a lot of hover strolling, and I was catching a ton of fish doing it. The problem was every time I caught a fish, I either lost the tungsten nail weight or, and the bait I was throwing mostly were max scent flatworms, Berkeley max scent flatworms. So if you didn't, you'd either lose the worm entirely because it was just a small 90-degree jig hook that it was slid onto, or you'd lose the nail weight. And your worm would generally pull, rip to the point you couldn't use it either. So I'd go out and I'd catch a pile of fish, but I was literally going through 2 or 3 bags of worms and nail weights each time out. So it was kind of frustrating. I mean, it was one of those things where it's like I just felt like I was continuously placing orders to replenish my stock. And I really got to thinking about it, and I was like, why can't I just figure out a way to get the nail weight attached to the hook? And I started tinkering around here in the basement bait shop and came up with a bunch of different prototypes, and eventually really found a couple that I really liked. And at that point, that was part of the start of Core Tackle. I mean, it was the first bait we came out with, but we being myself and Johnny Schultz, who's got the Fish the Moment is his YouTube channel, and he and I actually had designed what we thought was going to be our first bait, which was what we call the tush, or the ultimate swim bait head, which is an internal head for swim baits. And because we like the hover rig so much, we actually decided to come out with that first. And it's been amazing. I mean, it's really done way better than I ever thought. You know, Johnny and I really started Core Tackle with the idea that we could create some baits specifically for ourselves, hopefully sell a few to, you know, people that wanted a couple, and it would kind of pay for the cost of the production of the bait. And I never did either of us think that we would have the reception that we've had. And it's really become something that, you know, is kind of taken the fishing world by storm, which has been amazing. And it's led to Johnny and I now trying to make more of a brand out of Core Tackle than I think what we had originally anticipated. Sure. But, you know, while it's hot, we're basically using the success of both the hover rig and the tush to continue to build on some of the other crazy ideas that I've been thinking about for years in my own crazy head.
Well, first of all, I want to apologize for my manners. I didn't introduce George, but this is George, who you talked to. And then down on the end there is Greg Dipalma. He's here in town fishing, so he stopped in tonight. We're going to talk to him a little later. And then, of course, behind the camera is cameraman Nick. But to get back to that, I mean, that's George does all the buying for us, and we started hearing about this, and then he went right to the horse's mouth and said, "This is the one we have to have in the shop." And can you explain the balance of the head and the hook and what you're doing with that?
Yeah, I mean, so the original one, or the first one we came out with, had a weed guard in it. We now offer ones without weed guards as well. But really the idea behind it is, you know, to get the correct fall out of it, and I've got one here, but to get the correct fall out of it, you need to have some weight transferred down the shank of the hook. If it's all front weighted, the bait's going to fall vertical. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're going for. We want something that's going to glide a little bit more. So you want to transfer the weight down the hook some, and then at the same time, to lock the bait into place, and to carry weight all the way to the front of the bait, we put the little nose keeper right here with the idea that would give you the same weight source as a nail weight if you were inserting right into the head. And then at the same time, we shaped it like a little point so you could really squeeze the bait down on it, and it locks the bait really into place and holds phenomenally well. So, you know, using the hover rig, I can go out and catch many, many fish without having to replace a bait at that time. So it really, you know, my initial thought was I just wanted to correct the problem of losing nail weights in soft plastics. And at this point, I feel like I've really achieved both getting the same fall and kind of saving me a few bucks at the same time.
Why the weed guard? Why was that your first one?
Yeah, so that just had to do with where we were fishing it. The original ones I didn't have it in. When Johnny got the prototype, he really likes to fish them around brush piles and around floating docks with a bunch of cables and things like that. And he kind of was like, "Man, I'd love to have a weed guard in it." So we said, "Why not put a weed guard in it?" And at that point, you know, being that it was completely a startup, we didn't want to have to come out with a bunch of extra SKUs by having both weed guards and non-weed guards. Sure. We just decided we come out with the weed guards, and if you don't want them, you can easily clip them off.
Yeah,
snip it off.
We use a lot of weed guards up here in the shallow water. It helps us with, you know, rock protection and keeping us out of getting snagged up. We can fish a little tighter to the bottom. Yeah. Not so much a weed guard, but a rock proof guard, you know. So we make our own jigs here with special weed guards on there. So I didn't know if it had to do with fishing it closer to the bottom, or if it was just for brush piles and dock.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I mean, it has more to do, I think, with the cover that you're fishing. If I'm fishing one of the natural lakes up here in a more traditional hover strolling manner, which is generally more for suspended fish, or you're keeping your bait up off the bottom, at that point, I'm generally fishing one without the weed guard. If I'm in the backyard here fishing on the Wisconsin River and I'm, you know, letting the current take the hover rig into some of the log jams and things like that, you better believe I've got the weed guard on.
So what hook are you guys using in that?
It's a 90-degree mustad hook.
Mustad. Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yep.
That's a quality hook, black nickel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even on the fine wire, you're not going to get, a lot of flexing. You got to understand, you're fishing these small heads on a spinning rod, light line,
Mm-hmm.
a lighter rod. That hook complements the technique so well. I find the whole thing super interesting because way back in the day when the sluggo was first invented, and the country went sluggo crazy. Somebody somewhere came up and showed me what happens to a sluggo when you put a nail weight in the belly of it and cast it into the water. And it wants to fall horizontal instead of nose down. And it was just light switch. And, this whole technique here, it's genius. It's this head is built around that technique. It's locking into the bait. So you're not constantly re-rigging. You're not constantly fighting with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in current and wind and you're on a school of fish and you're catching fish and you got them fired up, every time you have to re-rig after every fish, that's just not good.
I hate re-rigging.
You're opening up this hatch and getting out this bag and opening up this thing and getting out this nail weight and you got that school fired up. You got to get the bait right back in the water. So, having this locked into place, it goes all the ways back to the days of that sluggo with that nail weight, because that's exactly what happened.
You mentioned
put the nail weight in the sluggo, you caught the fish. If the sluggo was still on the hook, the nail weight was either hanging out of the sluggo or it was gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went through a million of those things.
And back in those days, Matt, we didn't have tungsten.
Yeah.
We used finishing nails.
Yeah.
Like from the hardware store, like box of nails. And so this whole construction technique is what grabbed my mind. Mm-hmm. And the tackle industry being what the tackle industry is, I'm now, I did a little prep for the show here tonight because, we've never met each other before. We just emailed a little bit. I'm just like, here we go. Let's just copy this thing to death now. We got some of the most famous bait pirates in America out there just going to town on this bad boy. And, more to come. The more success you have and the more we all talk about it. Yeah. And the conversation grows, by this time next year, there'll be 10 of them. But this is this is perfect, man. Well, job well done.
Definitely is.
I appreciate it. I continue to find so many different ways to fish it. Whether, the other day I was out shooting a video on a little local river fishing current seams with it and just, catching smallmouth on pretty much every cast just because it was able to present that bait in the current just perfectly. If I go back and look at my season this year fishing on the MLF invitationals, I mean, I caught a lot of fish flipping the 3/0 size, so much so where we actually just came out with a heavier 4/0 3/16 ounce, which has a heavier flipping hook, which I think you guys might have ordered. I'm not sure if you do have it.
Yeah,
we just came out with it, but the heavy duty.
Yep.
And that thing, I mean, you throw a beaver on it, you throw a Berkeley power bait, max scent creature hog, which is my favorite bait to throw on it, and you get the gliding motion. But the coolest part about it is because of the 90-degree jig head. Once it's hit the bottom, if you give the rod tip just a little pop, the bait will skitter left or right, like right along the bottom, like a crayfish moving, versus with a traditional jig head, you'll pop the bait vertical. But in this case, because of the line tie, it actually darts left or right in the water, and it just is a much more natural looking movement that generates so many bites for me. I mean, I had a tournament at Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma this year where I caught pretty much all my fish flipping it. Instead of flipping a jig, I was flipping the hover rig, and I feel like it's something that really entices the fish into biting. And I have yet to find a time or a place where I can't throw it.
So what you said, your bait that you were throwing a lot on it was the flatworm. That's a real skinny profile piece of plastic. What weight and what size were you throwing on that?
Yeah, so well, I actually like the bigger flatworm on it, which is their 4 1/4 inch. So they have the 3.6, I think is or 3.8, is the original one, which works well too. But I do like the bigger 4 1/4 for it, and I'll throw that. Generally, I like to throw it on like the 3/64 ounce 1/0 or our 3/32 ounce 1/0.
Cool. And finesse. Yeah. And when you say you fish it in current, because this is going to interest a lot of our listeners because of our river out here. Are you swimming that? Are you throwing up current, or are you quartering the current, or are you fishing the bottom on the swing? What's the best way to fish that?
Yeah. So what I really like to do with is sit. Basically, I'll have the boat in the eddy. So the place I was just catching them, I had a good channel swing coming off the bank. There was a kind of a little rock point, so it was deflecting the current out, and you could sit downstream of the point and have the boat basically in slack water. And I was throwing way up above the current seam, above the point, and basically just letting it glide to the bottom. And it's light enough where the current just kind of walked it along the bottom, and I just would reel up slack until you'd feel one take off with it. And it just was a really natural presentation. And that I was throwing, so that one was a 3/64 ounce as well that I was throwing, the 1/0 size, but that was with a Jackal Rhythm Wag. If you guys have those, it's a soft tail, with like a split tail soft jerk bait. It's one of my favorites on it as well.
Yeah. We're big fans. We're big fans of those things.
We're going to have Nick show you a couple of them on the camera, guys. There's one down by your left foot there, Nick.
They're absolutely dynamite on the hover rig.
Plus, they have that squid scent.
Yep, can't go wrong with a little squid scent.
That squid scent is the bomb, man. And so your hover rig technique, you're a river fisherman.
Yeah.
On a version of what we have here, we have I don't know if you've been on the Susquehanna, but it's just a phenomenal smallmouth fishery. But an interesting thing that happens here, Matt, and I'm sure you're dialed in on this because of where you live, is we have phenomenal winter fishing. I mean, these fish gang up and they get into what we call winter holes.
Yep.
And they may be deep, or they may be a lot shallower than what we used to think. They might be 5 feet deep. They might be 20 feet deep. But what's interesting is with this technique, which, I haven't used your jig head yet, but I've used other versions of this with Kayak and Jackal, the little boot foot minnow, the little swing impact, and the little Jackal, little baby boot foot minnow, the 4-inch, 3.5, 4-inch, when it's 30-something degree water temperature. And you just let that thing just kind of rock and fall very, very slowly and naturally. And even if there's no current, which there's always a little bit, the tails just are so delicate on those, they just swim. That in itself, those fish just go berserk on it.
Yeah.
So
the
I'm looking
wintering
forward to that.
Yeah, well, I dude, that's my favorite time of year to fish. Unfortunately, we do end up freezing over generally, by, I'm gonna say the river will freeze over probably mid-December, but that is my favorite time of year to fish and chase giant smallmouth, wintering smallmouth. And one thing I can tell you about that is, they're basically sleeping down there, and you got to present your bait perfectly, and you got to present an easy meal for those fish. And if you can get one of these just to float right by them, they find it pretty hard to resist.
Yeah, we'll put the bait, in the little trough between two ledges where they're at. And water temperatures, we have many, many pictures up in our history of, holding big giant smallmouth in front of the graph where the screen says like 34 degrees.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're just trying to hold that thing still. And it's just tunk. So perfect conditions for that. The rhythm wag, the little Kayak swim bait, the little jackal swim bait, that's coming up for us. But this is a year-round presentation.
Yeah.
This is a year-round. I know Greg here, fishing on the Elite Series. I know you're doing this kind of stuff,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, Matt, if you could, I'm sure guys are wondering, walk us through like your setup, from finesse to even flipping. How are you setting up? Do you see a difference on line size? Like, what are you picking up here?
Yeah, so I with respect to the rod, I mean, I like a little bit longer rod. Generally, I'm going with a 7.3. I build my own rod, so it's a specifically it's an MHX NSJ 871. So it's a 7.3 1 power fast action rod. I mean, it's a light, but it's got a little bit of a backbone to it, fast action tip, 10-pound braid. To generally, I like to throw what I think a lot of people considers a longer leader. So I'll have a 6-pound fluorocarbon leader that's generally probably in that 20-foot range. I think that's a better way to present it for me personally. And then with respect to some of the heavier ones, when I'm flipping it, I'll just flip it on traditional light flipping gear. So a 7.3 medium heavy fast action rod, 15-pound fluorocarbon. Nothing crazy heavy, but definitely a traditional flipping setup. A light flipping setup.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that so you said about 20 feet of fluorocarbon. Now, do you think that's giving it less action, more action? What's the reason for it?
Yeah, I generally like to go with the longer fluorocarbon because I personally feel like I get less bites the closer my braid gets to the fish. I think they can sense the braid better than they can the fluorocarbon. I mean, if I were to get, I don't have anything to prove this, but I just feel like with braid, braid coming through the water because it's not perfectly round can give off some sort of vibration that the fish can pick up. That's my personal thought, kind of like if you're flipping with braid, you can feel it like sawing into wood or through the cover. I don't get that with fluorocarbon. So in my experience, I feel like I get less bites the closer my leader gets to the bait. So I kind of have a set rule with respect to my leader length. So if I'm fishing 10 feet of water or less, I go with at least a 15-foot leader. And if I'm fishing anything, I basically then I'll add a foot until I get to about 20 feet. And if I'm 20 feet or deeper, I'll have at least a 20 to 25 foot leader.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. What about retrieve? Guys are getting into this. How do you cast it out? How do you pull it? What do you do with it?
Yeah, so there's so many different ways to do it. The traditional hover strolling is really more keeping your bait up off the bottom where you cast it out, you let it fall to the depth that you want to fish it to. A lot of guys are using it for forward facing. So if they see fish down in 10 foot of water, they're probably letting their bait get down, to that range, maybe slightly above. And then it's a real slow reel and you're just kind of popping the rod tip. And what happens with the bait is it'll actually kind of walk the dog under the water. So it kind of just will slowly glide around and dart back and forth as you're popping the rod tip. So that's kind of the original way. One of my favorite ways though, and probably how I fish it more than anything, is really similar to how you'd fish a Ned rig. I cast it out. I let it fall to the bottom on pretty much slack line where I'm watching the line. A ton of bites will happen on that fall because it's spiraling and gliding all over the place. And then once it hits the bottom, I'll give it a nice little snap to get it to kind of dart around. And I might work it that way for 20% of my cast. And at that point, I'll reel in, make another cast.
Wow. Yeah.
It's interesting for everybody who's watching, who's not like dialed in on this concept. We take for granted that, everybody's dialed in on this. So what's basically Matt and his partner have designed here is they've designed a way to distribute the weight over the length of the bait, like the first third or half of the bait. And what that does for you is, so picture this being like a ball head jig, okay? That bait's going to fall like this, straight down. The ball head, all the weight's up front here, from here to here. All the weight's right here, and that's going to fall. Now, if you take that bait and you move weight back, this weight comes all the ways back to here. okay, where my thumb and index finger are. If you move that weight back, now in essence on this bait, basically almost half the bait has weight distributed on it. So now it wants to fall like this. Well, you know, in water, you know, it's gonna wiggle, it's gonna wag, it's gonna swim, it's gonna do this kind of a thing. And it's unbelievably lifelike. So, you know, the whole concept behind what we're talking about and what behind these guys have designed is a jig head. So here's what's in the bait. Okay, this is in this bait. Right? So this is transferring that weight back to give us a balance so that we fall horizontally. And then the water pressure on there is going to swim the bait. You know, some baits are going to body roll. Different baits are going to do different things, but they're not going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very natural.
Yeah,
effective,
yeah,
especially for suspended fish, because the fall rate we can control with this, the weight of the jig. It's ingenious.
Yeah, man. I rigged up that bait right there when you first came. I mean, I was so excited. I busted one out of the pack, man. I rolled out there and I grabbed that bait that was on the counter we had, and I was surprised. You know, on the back you have a little picture of how to rig it, and I looked at the picture and I went in there, and the way that head is designed, when you rig it that way, it slides right up over there like a regular piece of plastic, pretty easily, and then you just kind of pull front a little bit and shove the nose in, and it locks it right in place. So. One of the questions one of our listeners has is, do you ever super glue them? Or do you feel the need to super glue them, or are those ridges good enough to hold it really, really good on there? It seems like it holds really well once it gets in there.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't ever super glue them. You definitely could and really like mend it right to the weight itself, but I generally don't do it. You know, the for the most part, the baits hold up really well. If you're fishing a very soft bait, they're going to tend to tear pretty much on anything that you're using it. But I've never once actually applied super glue to it. But there's nothing holding somebody back from doing it. And it ended like what George was saying. It is pretty cool. Like one of the things for me that just continues to blow my mind is experimenting with the hover rig hook with different baits. Like there are so many baits out there that I'll use that I'm like, this won't work. And then I put it on there. I'm like, oh my God, this looks good. Or, you know, like I've had this little guy is just the Kayak Shad Impact, a 4-inch Shad Impact. And you can rig it. And I'm not saying it happens every time, but I've had this multiple times rigged where when you pull up on it, it's like a lipless crankbait. I mean, it's just having the hook in there and the weight's perfect. And that bait is just like vibrating. I mean, I got videos on my YouTube channel of it, and it's like, God dang, it looks amazing.
It's flat on the back.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know, there are so many different baits on the market that I've never played with, never tried, that it's pretty unbelievable to find it. And then the other thing too, I'll add, is once you get really good with it, you can kind of control the action of the bait as well. So if you let it fall on slack line, it'll fall much more like a tube. You'll get the big spiraling circles is generally what you'll get out of the bait. If you allow it to fall on what I call a controlled slack line, meaning you're kind of keeping your rod tip up and you got a little bit of a bow falling into the water, you'll take the spiraling motion out and it'll cut right into just a glide motion. And, you know, if you throw like a stick bait on it, a soft stick bait, like a Cinco or a General or something like that, the stupid thing will glide for 15 feet. And I'm not kidding about that. Like you apply a little pressure and it's like walking a dog. It just goes in one direction for so long. And so there's still so much to learn about it. Like I'm not going to sit here and by any means say that I am like the expert of hover strolling. I mean, I am loving every minute of it, catching a pile of fish. I mean, it's been a really cool learning experience as a whole. I mean, the hover rig is one thing, but then just continuing down the whole core tackle path, it's like I never saw myself going down this route, but there's nothing wrong with learning a few new things in life either.
Yeah, and I don't remember which tournament it was, but it was a northern tournament. You had camera, and you ran up a creek or a river. I want to say it was something like, like St. Clair or one of those types of fisheries, and you went up into a creek or a river that you obviously had experience with. And man, you were throwing some other baits, but you got this thing out. You didn't really talk about it that much. And it was, you know where I'm talking about, right? I mean,
you're probably talking about Eufaula, because on Lake Eufaula,
I thought it was up north.
Well, we only had one tournament up north, and that was the Mississippi River. And I was fishing Lake Onalaska in that, so I don't think that was it.
How about last year?
Oh, I can't even remember where I was last year.
Yeah. I remember this one log jam, man, and you kind of floated this thing into this log jam, and it was awesome. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could have just been, I mean, I've done so many YouTube videos at this point too. It could have been something that was posted on that, or MLF put a lot of videos up. I'm not sure. I mean, I've been using it for a year and a half at this point. And like I said, I mean, as much as I love the finesse side of it, I love the bigger flipping one too. I mean, it just adds a whole different action to fish that are continuously, at least in my neck of the woods, they're seeing either a Texas rig or they're seeing a jig. And in my case now, I'm going behind people catching a pile of fish, flipping a hover rig, and it's like the fish haven't seen it. I mean, it's just a different movement. That's the thing. It's not the traditional up and down vertical approach of a jig or a Texas rig, or with the lighter finesse ones, a ball head jig. It's when you pull up on it, the bait will go to the side. It's not that it goes vertical like you always see. And that's one thing I think, whether you love or hate forward facing sonar, we're learning a lot of how we fish based on using it. And one of the things that always surprises me is, you think your bait is out there, you're in 20 feet of water, your line looks like it's pretty much running direct at the bait. You pick up on it and you watch your bait on forward facing, and it like goes vertical. I mean, it doesn't come at you. Half the time it goes vertical, and then kind of, you pick up that slack line and it starts coming at you. But you don't get that with the hover rig. When you pull up on it, that bait will slide left or right, and stay pretty dang close to the bottom.
So it is like in this day and age would be a technique for forward facing.
Oh yeah. I think the majority of people are probably using it more for forward facing.
Okay.
I think it's still pretty new in terms, like I said, I prefer to throw it more like a Ned rig, but I think there's just a lot of different types of water you can throw it in that it's really been not exposed to yet. I think we're really still on the beginning of it. I think we're going to see a whole pile of different versions coming out. I think we're going to see a bunch of different kind of, I really feel like the whole idea of internally weighted baits is just starting to open up right now.
I agree with you 100%. I saw some of it this past year at ICAST. Of course, every kind of company had something that had the word forward facing sonar in it. Yeah. But it all had to do with either being internally weighted or external jig heads that carried the weight back.
Yep.
And you know what I'm talking about, to give it that horizontal fall. And that's a direction that we're going to go for a while because it's so effective. I mean, you're going to catch fish, and a lot of fish. You might not catch the biggest fish, but then you probably will, but you're going to catch a lot of fish doing these kind of techniques. The options are endless. The baits are endless, but let's not overlook something. We've been focusing so much on your hover jig, your hover rig jig. We have to recognize your swim bait head.
Yeah. What do you call it? A tush.
I mean, that thing is outstanding.
It really is.
Yeah, we the tush is one of my favorite things as well. I mean, we it's just, again, it's kind of that same premise. Like, this is the big 7/0 3/4 ounce hook, but to be able to put a 3/4 ounce weight inside of a swim bait, I'm sure I got, like, that's a 6/8 Kayak. Well, this is the 4/0 3/8 ounce. So I'm having trouble holding it, but I mean, you're giving your swim baits a different look, and there's a whole bunch of benefits, in my opinion, to it. The first being from a natural presentation. So this is the 7/0 one that's in a, was a 6/8 Kayak, I think. You're giving it much more natural presentation. You're also giving it a more compact presentation. So when you're used to talking about throwing a 3/4 ounce jig head, you're talking about adding potentially up to 1 inch, depending on the head style, to the front. You get rid of all that. But really what we noticed, and the best thing about this, is you get this belly roll. You get way more belly roll than just tail wag. And to me, that is a much better way to really trigger fish to bite. So from a movement standpoint, you get a completely different look. Generally, if I were to throw a Kayak, the body never moves, but you get really good side to side tail kick. And in this case, with the tush, what actually happens is the body counters the tail, so the tail doesn't go quite as far, but you get like this back, and the body's moving and the tail's moving and like opposite direction. So it's pretty cool. But honestly, one of the best things about it that doesn't ever really get talked about, and I try to bring it up a lot, but because your weight is carried through the bait, you have a lot more weight closer to the penetration point in the fish's mouth. So when the fish goes the jump, they lose the leverage of having the weight at the head, which is one reason why we lose a lot of fish on a swim bait, especially when you're you can cast them a mile, right? So you get bit at the end of your cast, they come up and jump, you end up losing a bunch because the weight is at the head. With the weight being closer back to the penetration point in the fish's mouth, they lose a lot of that leverage. So when you stick them, you generally stick them. I mean, you usually got them pretty good. The other thing is, you don't have to bust a 3/4 ounce head or a jig head through the fish's mouth to get a hook in at that point. That's all gone. Your hook's closer than to the penetration point. There's really a ton. Like, I really, really love this idea. We've got, we just put into production some swim jigs that are built off of basically the tush body. So you get a ton of side to side motion on your swim jigs. Like, those will be out probably at the end of the year, but it's kind of what I was getting at. Like, the internally weighted hooks, we're going to see a lot more of them because it changes the style of the bait. I'm not saying we're doing anything crazy and groundbreaking. Like, I'm actually surprised we haven't seen this in the past. But it just kind of gives new life to some old baits that, have seen, not necessarily have run the gamut. I mean, Kayaks are going to be around forever, but it's like the fish are seeing a different Kayak and reacting to it like they were when they first came out. At least that's what I've been seeing with it. And, I'm really excited for them. I mean, we've got, we just released a bunch of new sizes of the tush. So I think we have two weights per size of hook. So we got 2/0 hooks, 4/0 hooks, and 7/0 hooks. But then we could not find any lighter wire 60-degree jig hooks to use. So we actually are having VMC custom make us some, and we're going to make some light wire, smaller sizes, 16th ounce, 8th ounce, and your, smaller hook size for your 2.8s and 3.3s that don't have a bigger, beefier hook in it, where, a lot of guys who want to use it on 6-pound tests and spinning gear will have an easier time setting the hook and driving it home.
That'll sell.
1/8 ounce 3/0, man, for that
thin wire.
For that 3.3. Yep. That's just all day long.
Yeah, that'll be a big seller here.
Yeah, for a spinning rod guy, and that's a big forward facing thing. Greg, don't you guys spend a lot of time with a ball head and a little boot foot swim bait on forward facing?
Tons of time.
How about this now? I mean, Matt covered like almost every aspect of this, but what I liked about it, I've only fished it one day, full disclosure. I get so much more life out of my bait.
Yep.
So I had a bunch of bites, and my bait wasn't just splitting out with the keeper on the jig head, because it was all hooked up in that that conical like keeper style. So now we don't have to, re-rig all the time. I'll tell
Greg
you, man,
don't care about any of that re-rigging because he got like
No,
5,000 baits in his boat.
I care. Trust me. When it comes to time, I'm big
Yeah.
on saving time. And it's
Yeah,
I care.
I'll tell you, out of every 5 years, 10 years, we get a new technique or something comes out.
Yeah.
This is out of all this stuff on Tackle Shop Live. If you guys haven't picked up, I know a lot of guys still don't drop shot, and that's fine. But hover rigging, if you want to catch more fish, I promise you, this is the way to do it. Period. It's the truth.
Absolutely.
It's simple. It's easy to fish.
I'm excited.
I'm really excited about that tush head. We throw a lot of swim baits, and I'm a body roll guy like you would not believe. I believe in that as more powerful than the little paddle tail on the back. I think that roll of the body creates a lot more strikes, and if you can get a head to really have that roll nice on there, that's what I want. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, the other thing to point out too, and George, you mentioned one thing I forgot, which was how well it preserves the bait. I mean, if you use say a boot tail that's got a little bit more rigidity to it, a little tougher plastic, they will stay on there all day long. I mean, like a Berkeley
absolutely.
power bait power swimmer, that thing, you will not be able to get it off at some point, which is awesome. But one of the other cool things with it is if you like to skip like docks or underhanging trees, like having the weight more inside the body, it skips so much better than
Interesting.
Anything with a jig head. So you can really put it into a lot of places. We're working on some weedless ones with light wire weed guards mixed in, so you can throw it into some of the log jams. I mean, it's a bait. Like, as excited as I am about the hover rig, I might actually like the tush better from that standpoint.
I mean, skipping boat docks with a big boot foot, and I'm not going to mention the fact that a large portion of our listeners are also saltwater fishermen who fish inshore for like redfish and trout.
Yeah.
Stripers.
I mean, one of our rivers that we fish, you skip docks for redfish, like you're skipping for bass.
Yep.
You rig this 7/0 up with that 3/4 ounce head on a 7-inch swim bait and skip those docks.
Yeah.
Hang on. That's all I can say.
We actually, Johnny Schultz, he called me up yesterday. He's the other owner of Core Tackle, and he's like, Matt, he was so excited. He's like, I just put together a new video. I was out skipping. He's down by Table Rock. He's like, I just put a video together. I got a 20-pound bag throwing. We just came out with a 1/4 ounce 7/0 tush. So he's like, I just got a video done for that. And he's like, I put 20 pounds. He was jumping around. I mean, he's now a big bait fisherman because of it. He's like, I never thought I'd be throwing the big baits, but he's loving it. And
I like a 1/4 ounce with a 7/0. That's interesting. 1/4 ounce 7/0. Wow.
We're actually working on even some lighter 7/0 sizes, specifically so you can run them real high up in the water column. We've had a lot of people asking for like 16th ounce sizes, and they're running them on Alabama rigs because if they got a whole pile of heads, they don't want a bunch of extra weight. And so we got a whole bunch of sizes and versions and things coming out. The problem is we're just a little company, and the dollar speaks, right? So we're trying to grow within our means.
We get that, brother. We get that. We're this is our 33rd year in business as a little company, and that's exactly right. Grow within your means.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But we're new with you guys. But we will be with you for your run, and however many years that may be. Hopefully, it's like 30. But whatever it is, it's going to be. We're really excited. We really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. I know all four of us here, it's rare that we have four of the guys on, but all four of us here really enjoyed having you on. We appreciate the heck out of you. I told you earlier in the week I wasn't going to burn up your whole night. So, I mean, I know we're getting up against the time. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to cover, Matt, before we break away, but I just wanted to thank you in advance.
Well, guys, I just want to say thanks for having me on. I've never stopped by the old fish and tackle shop that you got there, but I can tell you this, you're one of those stores that I continuously hear people mention when we're like all across the country. Like that's one of those places you got to stop. So hopefully I make my way over there sometime, get to fish the Susquehanna and experience, the world-class fishery that is. And I just want to say thanks for carrying Core Tackle products and having me on.
Outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Thank you so much. You can check Matt out online. You have a great website, by the way. You're very, very professional website. Love your website. And where else can they check you out? What's your YouTube page?
Yeah, YouTube page, Matt Stefan Fishing. I do daily fishing tips on there, a little bit of everything, whether it's tackle hacks or whether it's just me out fishing or something, Wednesday nighter with my 2 little boys. It could be anything. We have daily content. Other than that, if you want to check the other social medias as well, I mean, that's all Matt Stefan Fishing as well.
And what's the name of your basement again?
Basement Bait Shop.
Basement Bait Shop. I love it. That was a great video when you went and toured down in there and toured everything out. I watched it. It was awesome. And George and I are big old school guys. We've been in business for 34 years. 33 years, and we've been fishing since we were knee-high to a grasshopper. So we have so many of those old school baits, man, just like, stuffed in corners and stuffed in boxes, like down in the basement somewhere. So it's cool to see that there's a bunch of guys out there still loving them.
Love it.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
You guys need to talk to my wife. I'm trying to convince her to let me cut a hole in the wall here to connect the other room. That's just a storage room. And I don't think she's too hot to try.
She's not loving that.
No, I'm running out of space. That's the problem. And I don't want to get rid of anything.
We're good at negotiating.
You never know when you're going to need it. You never
That's
know
right.
when you're going to need it.
That's what we keep saying. And one of these days, we're going to have to break out the old blue striper, man. We're going to start catching fish on that thing again. All right, Matt Stefon, thank you so much. We appreciate you so much.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see you sometime around. If you ever get in the area, give us a call. We'll get you on that river.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, buddy. Take care. There you go, folks. Matt Stefon. Great
core tackle, Mike.
Core Tackle.
What a great name.
And the thing about it is that George and I, we brought in a big selection of them. They're in stock right now. We saw the value. We got like, I don't know if it was a sample, whatever, but we saw the value in this, and we saw the change and what it was going to make. And this is that bait. This is that little thing that can change a whole bunch of things, and they're in stock right now. You can go on to sfttackle.com, check out the website, check out the Core Tackle, check out the heads, get some of them ordered, get them in your box and try them out. I promise you, it's going to be a game changer in a lot of different situations.
Yeah. And I don't know how this is going to work out here, but before I pose my question here, I just wanted to wrap up with the Matt Stefan conversation. Being in this industry for as many years as we've been in, we are, we relate to these small specialty dialed in companies. And I'm just going to tell you, from the little bit of interaction I've had with Matt, on a business side of things, these guys are going to be around for a long time.
Yeah.
They are going to be bringing
a lot of innovation,
must-have tackle products for
years,
all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt will be back on this show probably yearly, breaking it down, because this is a quality organization. That's who we like to align ourselves with. But we do have our boy GDP here, which doesn't happen a lot because he's a busy man. And the other day he made the mistake of talking to me about hover strolling. And I told him I wasn't going to tell anybody any of the tips that he gave me, but I lied because that's what I do.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
What do you got, George? Let's hear it.
Well, what I found interesting, and I was hoping maybe you could elaborate on, it's kind of picking up on what Matt was saying, and you asked him a question about leader lengths, and I think you know where I'm going with this. You told me that the way you like to rig is that not only the horizontal presentation, but actually the drag of the line, you feel as though your bait, I mean, you're watching it on forward. You feel as though your bait is floating
That was
longer.
That was the main reason why I asked Matt about
I know
the leader length.
I know, which is why and you probably knew at that point,
Yes.
I would be circling back around and breaking all forms of trust. I mean, you don't have to answer, but
No,
I
it's
mean,
fine.
you said that the braid was floating
Correct.
and the bait was hanging there much longer than you might believe,
It's almost like I can pause it.
and you had a way of manipulating.
Correct.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure before now you can't say anything wrong because I pretty much you bought into it,
It's the real deal. So
if you will.
yeah, so forward facing sonar, like you said, love it or hate it, but gosh, it just shows you like everything. Your bait and your cadence, it's very important, but now we're seeing the reaction of what I'm doing. So what George is saying is when I throw a cast out there 60, 70 feet, braided line floats, fluorocarbon sinks very slow. So when I throw that out there, Matt said it too, when you pick up on it or you pull a little bit, the bait's not pulling essentially to the boat. The bait is getting pulled back to where it's coming from, where the line is. So with that being said, if I got a bass right here and he's looking at it, my bait no longer is falling past that fish. I could just pull it back up again and keep it right in its face. And I can entice the bite. And there's certain little triggers that you can do with the bait to get the fish to react most of the time.
That's kind of what I thought you said.
Nick has seen it firsthand plenty of times now.
Yes, I have. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's a technique that, I think personally, as me being your friend, this is one you need to get on.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the show here, we've spent a great amount of time trying to learn all these new rigs, and they're all catchy and some of them are fantastic. Like, for example, we learned about the free rig, which is an effective bait, effective rigging technique. We've learned about, other kind of what I would call fringe rigs, that I'm not going to give a lot of weight to, but this, if you remember the conversation we started with Matt, I took him back to that, and I was at a show in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It was 1990, and this guy did his demonstration, and he said, "No, you don't understand." And we left the stage, and we walked through the show, down the hall of the hotel to the swimming pool, so that he could show this bait. He's like, "Sorry, everybody out of the pool. I'm doing a demonstration." And when he threw that sluggo in the water with that belly weight, that sluggo hit the water, and instead of sinking like this, that sluggo went like this and swam down to the bottom.
Yep.
And it was just like light switch getting kicked on.
Light switches.
And you immediately thought of the finesse fish. You immediately thought of the fluke. There was no such thing as a super fluke. There was none of these baits existed. But that technique has carried forward decades now. Now it's obviously much more advanced. I mean, the whole thing with the 90-degree jig head with the nail weight, game changer, not even on par with that old demonstration.
Yeah, but
but now look at this.
It's just the innovation from guys. It's like you with your kayak and other things that you do.
Yep.
You guys just think about this stuff, and it just amazes me. Like Matt had a problem, and he fishes a lot, and he went and he figured out that problem, and it turned out that the problem actually made it better than the jig hook with the nail weight. Now you have a bait that it's better.
Yep.
You're getting the benefits of holding the bait on longer, which is important to a lot of us guys. Stuff's expensive. The action's even better. It's more, it's more elaborated. And now he expanded into flipping, and I love that flipping idea.
I did too.
I mean, the way he pulls that and it slides side to side. I mean, that was it. You guys listen to this. You picked up some tidbits of some hardcore stuff that you better be writing this stuff down and really having it sink in, because this is going to change some stuff. We're always looking for the little different look. We're always looking for something different to get the strikes that 10,000 people are throwing baits at. We need something to do something different.
I'll say one more thing too. He touched on, so rod length varies a little bit, but I do think a fast action rod is a must, because the way you work this thing when you're semi slack pumping or doing whatever you're doing, when the fish gets it, whether it comes out or does whatever, the fast action, not that you're really setting hard, but it just allows you to get the hook set properly. I think that's real important.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is important is leader length.
That's what we do. We do 10-foot leaders in shallow water.
Well, I'm not real far off of Matt. Mike's we're
10 to
probably
15.
about
We're
10,
10 to 15.
closer to 15.
Yeah, we're 10 to 15. Honestly,
I kind of fish in a 7-foot rod. I'll tie my knot. I reel it onto the reel. I make sure I get about 3 wraps on the reel, and I come down to the reel and cut it.
Yeah,
so 7 up, 7 down, a foot on the reel.
Yep.
So I try to get in that 15-foot range. When I'm up north and I'm fishing deep, I might go a little longer. I might go in that 20+ foot range, only because, you're fishing 35, 40 feet deep.
Yeah.
Which
I never worried about the fish seeing my braid. And
I don't even.
And I didn't think about what he said about the vibration. I didn't even think about that. That didn't never even cross my mind. But
well, I'll tell you, I really like what he said there.
I get it.
And I'll tell you where, to me, and I kind of picked up on this in my world many, many, many years ago with braid. And it's the reason why I stopped fishing chatterbait and swim jig on braid most of the time. Now, granted, if you're traveling the country like our man Greg here and getting, on these big waters, maybe it's not such a thing. But you start fishing in a fish bowl like where I like to fish, Potomac River, the Chesapeake Bay, around, 57 of your best friends or not. That vibration, I can feel it. They can feel it. And that kind of spoke to me a little bit. Now, is it always?
Well, I mean,
true?
it never even crossed my mind until he said that, and obviously I'm going to listen to Matt Stefan. He's been fishing. I wanted to ask him a lot more about his career, because he goes back to 2000. I think on his website, he goes back to 2012 with his tournament fishing. I don't know if he fished before. I'm sure he did tournament fish before that, but I think he started his really career in 2012. And the guy has fished a ton of tournaments and won a ton of money over the years. So it's things like that. And same thing with talking with Greg. We always say that about Greg when he comes on. He says things and it's like, what? Whoa, wait a second. Well, that was, Matt the same way. He says things that's like, it's like, the head explodes. So really cool dude, man. Really cool information. And I think everybody should follow him and listen to him, because he's a really super smart guy. He's a super smart fisherman, and he's going to be a super smart businessman. I can tell that. And he's going to come out with some really innovative stuff in the future. So we're excited about it. We have all of his products in stock right now. Some of you guys are already ordering. You're telling us that already. Thank you for the orders. Jump on there, get them now, get them while you can, and try this. Try the technique. Try the jigs. See what the difference for yourself, what it does for you. Nick, what do you got, buddy?
Well, one thing I think I'd overlooked a little bit, because we do talk about the forward facing, but he said one of the ways he likes to do it the best is actually using it like a Ned rig. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, because from my experience, you can't see every fish, so a lot of those fish are still on that cover, on that structure. And, the way he's saying that bait moves a little bit different than other baits could trigger those inactive fish to want to bite.
I think I'm more excited about it as a bottom bait,
Yeah.
for river fishing, like we do a lot of. I like it. I like the idea of it like that, better than the forward facing thing. Cause I'm just kind of getting into that kind of stuff, So, but
with the current, it makes more sense for you guys too.
yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
And also to your point there on the current, Greg,
Love the weed guard too.
yeah, for sure.
he talked about putting his boat in the eddy, casting out and swinging down through the seam.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really important about that, and I love that that conversation, but what's really important about that is when you make that cast, you want to cast either 90 degrees or slightly down. You want that bait to hit the water, and your target area is where your line's going to swing. So if you have a rock here that you think fish are in front of, behind of, to the side of, whatever, you want to position your boat and start your cast so that as that bait hits here and gets to there, it's starting to make its turn. It might not be completely at the apex of the turn, but it's starting to make that swing. That is how you win fishing a current seam.
I promise you catch bigger fish and more fish on that swing.
It's difficult,
and there's a little piece of that swing that is really critical.
And it's difficult to read those seams sometimes. But when we refer to a seam, there's current involved, obviously, and it doesn't have to be a lot of current. I'm sure on your TVA lakes you pick up on seams.
Oh, for sure.
And it might not be like,
no, it's
like you've been fishing on the river here for a day or two.
Not like those kind of seams.
Those kind of seams are different. But a seam is a seam nonetheless, and it's very, very important. Some seams are very, very long. So, you're going to kind of stroll backwards with your trolling motor. And what's nice is if you have a spot lock, you can lock,
Swing,
pick it apart,
get your swing going on,
drop your boat back one boat length, do it again, and you can follow that seam back. And it's interesting, he's fishing on the Wisconsin River, which is probably not nearly as rocky as our river.
No,
but
it's probably a lot of sand on
A
sandbars.
seam's a seam.
Yeah, I know.
A seam's a seam. It doesn't matter what the bottom is.
A
seam's a seam.
Yeah, but he seemed to throw up. He seems to throw up, and I find this a lot with different guys. They seem to throw up further into it and catch up to it and work it back, and that's because of the type of bottom.
Sure.
Where we're at, you do that, you're gonna have stock and core tackle, and they're definitely not gonna make enough. You have to, on ledge rivers, when you're fishing ledge rivers, you have to fish on the quarter. You have to fish on the downward quartering down, because you're gonna go through so much stuff.
You are going to snag far less.
Yeah.
If you fish the weedless hover jig,
Yeah.
because you don't have that lead in front of the bait,
You're going to snag less. Yes,
you're gonna
absolutely.
snag
I agree.
far less.
I agree. I totally agree. I agree. I can't wait to try it on this. I can't wait to try it on that, because we have an immense amount of experience fishing this kind of stuff with all kinds of crazy jig heads, stuff that we've tried over the years, to try to get that perfect touch to bottom drift without having to pop it loose a lot of times, and just have that nice pure drift on that to get that swing. So I am really excited about that. Really excited about it. So thanks.
Another cool thing that he brought up that you should be thinking about right now,
Yeah.
where states allow, is the umbrella rig.
Yeah, that was
And
great.
he brought that up, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's going to be great on an umbrella rig. And when they bring that 16th ounce out, for you guys that are fishing a shallow umbrella rig, I don't know. I like to fish an 1/8 ounce. What's your take? What do you do?
I'm 1/8, but it depends where you're fishing at. Like at home, where I throw it a lot, I'm fishing at 6 to 8. So the 1/8 is like perfect, right in the middle of the water column.
Yeah, I like the 1/8 most of the time.
Yep.
I know Mike fishes an 1/8 a lot.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I've thrown them all. I've thrown real heavy. I've thrown super light. It just depends on what kind of water you're fishing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've rigged them up real heavy too. Mike and I found a bunch of fish on electronics on a lake that has giants in it down in North Carolina, and they were deep and they were stubborn. I rigged some bitch up with 6-inch swim baits and half-ounce heads, and I damn near broke my rod in half.
I bet.
When I got all said and done, I realized my rig weighed like 7 or 8 ounces.
Well, we got down to where like we were so frustrated.
But I got her down to them fish.
We were so frustrated. It was a massive cold front. We were so frustrated. And George was like, I got to get down these fish. He's like ringing these things up. That was early Alabama rig days.
That was a long time ago.
That was early Alabama rig days, and we didn't understand a lot of things.
I think I tore my rotator cuff on that thing, man.
You know, there's also different ways to control an A-rig with the arms. You know, you pull them out, you can keep it higher.
Yeah.
There's certain ways to do
Yeah,
it.
and I like that bigger spread for that bigger appearance to those fish.
Mhm.
I think a lot of time,
Yeah,
that bigger, wider spread,
Yep. I like a wide spread too.
you know, it just gives it that like
Yep.
mega school look.
Yep.
I don't know,
It's-
bro. I've had days where you had to pull them tight,
I'm sure you have.
and
Yeah.
I feel like when they're chasing a lot,
Mhm.
when the fish are really got the bait all screwed up and chasing a lot, and those packs get real tight.
Yep.
You know, I pull my baits and I pinch them
believe it.
together,
I believe
and I get this real tight thing, and I get a lot more bites that way. But
You have
most
to
of
pay
the time,
attention to that.
you do, yeah, and you'll see it. It doesn't happen right away, but when they're really busting on those fish and they break the school apart, and you got all these little
Makes sense.
these small little schools going around, and you pull that thing together, and you get that nice little tight thing. I felt like I felt like I get a lot more bites.
There's a big science to the A-rig, you know, and I
Yeah.
remember when the A-rig first popped and the learning curve was steep. You and I talked about it the other night a little bit. I don't want to go down the A-rig road, but Dr. X here was asking about how many hooks we're allowed to have in PA. 5.
Yeah,
And, you know, we're not going to talk A-rigs tonight. We're going to actually do an A-rig show. We are kind of talking about them a little bit because it relates to this jig head. But listen, make sure you check your regulations, because when the man pulls you over and you tell him, I thought,
yeah.
that's not going to hold up in court. I thought I was allowed to use
I thought
5
I read
hooks,
that
sir.
somewhere. Yeah,
No, you're allowed to use
Yeah.
2. Well,
Yeah.
I thought it was 5.
yeah. Know your state regulations.
Sign here.
Pennsylvania is 5. You're allowed to use 5, but Maryland, you're only allowed 3. Maryland, you're only allowed 3.
What's allowed? What are you allowed in Jersey?
500.
500.
No,
yeah.
5. There is certain states that I think Alabama might be no limit. Like certain states have no.
Well,
limit.
that's why
Right.
for the big series tournaments, they got they don't allow you to fish them because
Yep.
there's so many regulations across the country.
Yep.
It's not because it's a game changer in catching fish, although it does,
Yeah.
but it's a great lethal weapon. But that's not why they did it. They did it because the regulations were so spread out and crazy that
Yep.
they didn't want to deal with that.
When I think of the bass fishing and sport fishing regulations in New Jersey,
Yeah.
I think of the Sopranos. I just picture Tony Soprano, driving the Stugatz down the Maurice River, heading to his honey hole.
Stay off my juice, dude.
He's just got like 3 Alabama rigs in a row tied up like a Christmas tree. And
Like
he's,
all
what are you gonna do
hooks
about
on
it?
every single one of them.
What are you going to do about it?
Right, as soon as you said, I hear that theme, that music in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right away.
Yeah.
And you
you-
smell
yeah.
pasta.
You got a
Yeah.
beep problem with that.
Yeah.
Beep, beep. You got a
Yeah.
problem, beep.
Because Tony Soprano, he would have been a badass tournament fisherman in New Jersey.
Oh, he fishes down there. I
He
know.
used to.
Oh, he
doesn't
still does.
anymore.
Oh, different one. I know him.
Uncle Tony,
Yeah.
I know one
Different
thing.
one, I know.
I know one thing. If you blast off in a tournament and Tony Soprano's in it and you're on his spot,
You did.
you're moving.
Yeah.
You're moving, or else you're going to have more broken bones than you care for. I mean, he's going to bring the boys over, and they're going to work you over.
Okay. Well, that was a great segment of our show tonight, and we appreciate again Matt Stefan for coming into the show and explaining that all to us. George, let's talk about our favorite.
Segment.
You have some.
I thought you locked up there. You look like you glitched up like a computer.
Well, when I looked
program.
at you, I saw this big blank stare. Like, oh no,
Bro, I'm
I forgot
Yeah,
to.
is this the Matrix? or
Okay.
what?
I'm ready.
This
I'm
is our
dialed
favorite
in.
part of the show, and this is called Tackle Talk.
I'm like Tony Soprano.
Yeah. So this is Tackle Talk, and we are allowed to talk tackle because this is Tackle Shop Live. And what we got, George? What do you got new? What do you got hot? What's working? What's not working?
I got all that.
Been a lot of cool stuff come through the.
Well, it has really.
Uh-oh.
And oh boy,
What'd you do, Nick?
I don't know if anybody can hear me.
What about the?
But I know you can't
plug
see
up
me.
there. Is it good? Oh wait.
Oh, wait a minute.
What about the plug down there where it plugs in?
I love this
that one there, Nick.
technology, man.
That's it, Nick. You got to push that in.
I literally love this technology.
Take the tape off if you have to. Take the tape off.
They can hear us.
They can hear us. We're
But
coming
they
back
can't
on.
see us.
We're coming back on. It's stupid connection. Hang on.
Oh my. In the meantime, I'll sing the Tony Soprano song for you. You know, maybe not. I think it's like something like I woke up this morning with a boom boom in my hand.
I don't know it.
Oh,
I've
I've watched The Sopranos like 5 times.
I saw it, but I never actually watched it. Yeah.
Well, how can you live in New Jersey and not watch The Sopranos?
And you gotta have
Because
the
I'm out.
harmonica too.
I'm outside fishing.
Huh? No. Yeah, it is a quality camera, South Jersey. I love South. This guy, South Jersey Bait Reviews. I don't know who he is, but I love this guy.
That's funny.
He
Okay, hold
says
on,
the greatest
hold on,
things, and I agree with him. Oh my goodness. We're gonna have a quick 5-minute. What'd you do, Nick?
Quit touching it, Nick.
That's why they call him Cameraman Nick, because
Yeah.
he can fix anything.
He did it. All right, Nick. There you
Oh
go.
my,
buddy.
that was something.
Hey,
man.
we're back.
That was exciting. Anyways, tackle talk.
Yes.
All right, before we completely, lose the whole audience here, I would like to talk about a couple new baits. Now, let's face it, when Gary Yamamoto brought the Senko to the market, it revolutionized bass fishing. And to this day, the numerous Senko techniques, we've actually done whole shows on Senko fishing. Wacky rigging, Texas rigging, Carolina rigging, flipping. Down in Florida, I know you guys fish. Your tour season starts off in Florida every year. Flipping a Senko on a big weight's a thing.
That's a thing. And when it's tough, guess what? I'm throwing a wacky rig Senko.
And you remember the Dean, he won the Bass Open on Cayuga with a big weight on a Senko.
That's all he throws.
Right. I mean, he's just a Senko chunking, Bagley, crankbait chunker. But my point is, the Senko. Okay, well, now we have the original Senko 5-inch in the fat version. You might have to focus up in here, cameraman Nick. Bring your camera in here. So now, so for example, many years ago, like 15 years ago, Zoom brought out the Magnum finesse worm, right? Changed finesse fishing. Then they Magnum trick worm. Now you got Magnum every kind of worm there is. And what it is that bulky, heavy profile. So now we have a Magnum 5-inch Senko. We have a 5-inch Senko with a big, bulky profile. And, we were talking about Lake Champlain the other day. Well, I got news for you. When I go up to Lake Champlain, a Senko plays. I fish a 6-inch Senko. I don't even fish a 5-inch Senko up there. They want to eat a 6-inch Senko. Why? Because it's bulky. So now I have a 5-inch Senko. I have, I don't know, 15, 18 of the hottest colors they got. They finally went into this blue swirl business here. Blue crawl. My goodness. Very excited. 5-inch Senko, $7.99 a bag, Greg. So there is a tiny bit of an upcharge. But let's face it. We're paying it. They're 10 in a pack, $7.99, whatever. Here's my credit card. Take my money.
I don't buy anything but Yamamoto for Senkos.
Me neither.
Yep.
Me neither. What's the saying? imitation is the highest form of flattery. I mean,
Ain't that the truth?
if there's anything on the market today that rivals a Senko, it would be a Maxcent General.
Agree.
I mean, all the other ones are also Rands. And every company out there seems like they have to make one. But the Senko
Is the Senko.
with the salt, because there's a deal with that salt and the weight in the fall. So now we have a fat Senko. It's bulkier, it's heavier. And let me tell you.
Does that one have salt in it?
Oh, does it have salt in it?
Does that green pumpkin blue have salt in it?
Oh, yeah.
How about a check on that?
You want a test?
We need a test.
Who wants a test?
We need a test.
Test coming up.
Let's get it.
Yeah, it's salty, all right.
Is it salty?
You can see it.
I wouldn't open that. I wouldn't open that. All right, you can open it. I might have a problem.
After that much salt,
Is it? It's loaded with that. Even with the some of them aren't salty. Oh yeah,
See it
jeez.
in there.
So yeah, but the thing about their salt is it's a formula on how heavy it is, and it's the fall rate.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's big news for tonight. $7.99. That's new.
Yeah,
They just shipped in, so we've had them for
super excited about that bait. I'm telling you, that was one of them ones.
Yeah.
we've had them
That's
for a
one of
week
them
or
ones.
so.
Where are you going to throw that, Greg?
Definitely Florida. 100% in Florida.
Grass,
100%.
right?
Everything. When
Everything.
I'm down there, that's usually what I do is flip a Senko.
You gonna wacky rig yet?
No, Texas.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
I
No
don't see
wacky.
that as a wacky rigger.
I'm saying for down in Florida, I always flip that thing on typically a 5-inch, normal size
Oh, okay.
with a quarter to 3/16 weight.
Wow.
And they bite it.
What's your favorite color in Florida?
Black blue.
Is it black blue?
Yeah, the water down there is so tannic.
What's another color that they throw a lot down there? It's like
Junebug.
Junebug. Yeah, I was going to say Junebug.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that what yours was, Nick? When you were whacking them down there?
I was black with blue flake, but now somebody I was with, they were throwing like a rust color.
Rust.
I don't know which color it is. It's almost like an orangish.
Really?
Yeah.
Sounds like
196.
956 to me.
It was the deal. I mean,
956.
catching them.
Yeah, it's copper, by the way.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah. Oh, so a laminated one, maybe.
No, it wasn't laminated.
Yeah. So 196.
Could be.
Yeah. Root
You
beer
just love
pepper.
those numbers, don't you?
I try to keep
Hey.
up with you, man.
186 is more coppery than 196.
I try to keep up with you.
See,
I don't know. I don't
196
know them all. I don't know them all, but I
196 has the green fleck in it.
every now and then I impress myself and I go back there and said, "Oh, you need 912." I take them right to 912.
Hey,
Every
Oh,
time I
how
call-
about a 297?
Every time I call a George for an order, that's how it is. You want to whatever the numbers are.
Yeah.
He just rings the numbers off all the bases.
He does.
Yeah, whatever you said, George.
Hey,
Yeah.
the problem is your 196 has a green fleck where your 186 is more of an orange base with a black fleck.
Yeah.
Probably 186. But I'm going to go with 956.
Well, Greg, that was the big thing when these new colors came out, a month ago?
Yeah.
Or whatever. These two guys are up here. What number is that, George?
Yeah.
What number is that?
It's impressive. It really is. But
George knows all of them.
33 years.
you better
Yeah,
know
he
what they
knows them
are.
all.
It's your
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
know a
had
lot of them.
one job.
I know a lot of them.
I bet you do.
But the ones like the obscure ones, I don't know, like he does, some of the obscure ones that you don't sell a lot of. But I know a lot of them. 020, 021. I know about 196, 297.
Alex, I'll take
912.
Yamamoto colors for 1,000. That's not what your mom said last night. Remember that skit?
That was awesome.
Awesome.
One of the greatest skits ever, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I got more goodies.
Hey, here's a question. Greg, when do you like to start using pork?
I don't.
Oh.
I don't throw pork.
Even in the cold.
No, I was never one of them guys.
Oh.
Okay, there's a good answer for you, South Jersey.
I mean, this is South Jersey. Is that
Yeah.
the question is.
Yeah.
So in South Jersey, Super Chunk Junior, that's the only jig trailer you need all summer, all winter, all fall. That's the
Super
only one.
Chunk Junior.
That's the only one you need.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Nice. I like that trailer. George's a big fan of that one too.
Black, blue, or sapphire are the only two colors. you need.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah. Black
Yeah.
with blue flake
Or sapphire.
or sapphire blue.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, I do like the green pumpkin on a black and blue jig.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of guys that are that way.
But my black and blue jig does not have any blue strands in it. It's black with blue metal flake. And I have that with a green pumpkin, and I have that with a black with blue flake, and I have that with a blue sapphire. And if that doesn't work, we go catch them another way.
Now, let me tell you something about that pork. Ultra cold water, which Greg probably never gets, 30,
We get
34,
no,
35.
We don't get that. We get our cold is like 37.
That's cold.
But I'm saying that's max.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're frozen.
Yeah. Well, we over the years, those guys that threw the hair jig with pork,
I know all about it.
yeah. that was
Yep.
35 down, 35, 34, 36, maybe 36 down, something like that. That's where they really did the pork, otherwise we did plastic.
If it's South Jersey in the dead of winter, I usually throw a bitsy bug, not a bitsy flip, a bitsy bug on a spinning rod, and zoom. I don't know what they call that one, small tiny trout.
Tiny chunk.
Tiny chunk.
That's the one that I throw on there.
Tiny chunk.
Dead of
Yeah.
winter.
So you change your size and the action of the tail.
We're talking. It's cold.
Yeah.
That's
it's
an
cold.
029, Greg, in case you're wondering.
029 is
Yeah.
the one you want to order.
Yeah.
The 028, your
Same,
small
same
chunk.
colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in case you want to check on that.
Yep.
But a hair jig with a spin chunk on the back, which I don't even make anymore, do they, George? Spin
In
chunk
pork,
101.
they don't.
Yeah. That thing was
Pork is back. So
I know it is.
Uncle Josh actually has the number 11 pork chunk and the Big Daddy number 1 pork chunk in all the colors. And now, they're a little expensive, but you have to keep in mind, unless you physically lose the jig, they don't wear out ever. You take them back off, you put them back in the juice. But I have an interesting pork story for you. And this happened in a BFL tournament on the Chesapeake Bay. And I was struggling a little bit. And one of my good friends idled up past me in the morning and said, and this was in July, and it was hot as can be. Okay. So if you got any pork in your boat, put that on your jig. Because all I did back then was fish a jig. So I got my jar of pork out, and I got the jaws of life out to get the jar open. Because, the salt had welded it to the jar. And it was glass, by the way. And I put that chunk on, and I proceeded to have one of the best BFLs I ever had down there.
Where was that, George?
That was on the Upper Bay.
Really?
They ate that pork like there was nobody's business.
Jeez, oh man.
Yep.
Can make a difference like that.
They did. They did.
Some days,
I believe it. I've seen it.
Some days I go fishing and these things happen.
Yep.
And it just like blows your mind. And then you talk to somebody else that fished 8-9 miles away from you, and the same thing happened for him. Isn't that crazy? And it was like, and here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that drives me nuts, Greg. 2 o'clock, the bite turns on, and it turns on for everybody in the body of water. What is up with
Well,
that?
Mike, I'm glad you brought that
Bite
up.
window.
That's crazy.
Because, Greg, as you're fishing in the elites, we're watching Score Tracker,
Yeah,
and you see it.
you do.
You guys
yeah.
are fishing,
Oh, yeah.
you're doing your thing, and all of a sudden, everybody's catching.
Yeah. Brrr, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, everybody racks up. It's like, oh, look at Greg just caught a 4-pounder, and then all of a sudden, brrr, and
Bite
everybody
window.
else did too.
Yep.
Bite window.
It's like tidal fishing.
Crazy.
How many times in the bay have you been out in the bay in the flotil of 50 boats and you see one guy catch them, then it's that guy catches them, it just goes off.
Yeah, I know it. It just drives me nuts.
Yep.
And the term that everybody uses now, is bite window. And that's a great term because it sums it up.
It does, but
That's title
that
situation.
changes all the time.
That's a title situation now.
No, I'm talking on lakes too, like
Oh yeah.
rivers.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh man, we had that afternoon bite, from 12 to 1. We slayed them.
100%. Last weekend,
Yeah.
you and I,
Yeah.
our bite was like
I was just going to say the early fall is when you see more than ever.
mid to late day.
As far as like the windows, like the early fall,
Yeah.
you have windows like crazy where like, during the summer, if you get it from, they eat it a lot of times.
Yeah. But you start seeing that a lot.
Big time.
It's craziest thing in the world. Like how does
The fall more than any time.
And
Yeah,
I thought them fish had little teeny tiny pea brains,
That's probably why. That's why they all do it at the same time.
I mean, it's
Honestly,
like
they
all right.
Yeah. Mother Nature, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
crazy.
kind of like you're sitting at your favorite establishment watching football on a Sunday, and you're cheering with your buddies, and everybody's doing the same thing, and then some son of a gun orders some wings, and they carry them out through the kitchen. That's a bite window because everybody's ordering wings.
Yeah, right.
Right on. Right on.
Oh my!
So what else you got, George, in the
Well,
in the tackle shop?
I love my mag draft. I'm a mag draft guy. I love the mag draft. You guys are probably sick and tired of hearing me talk about the mag draft.
I saw it over the weekend. You caught some freaking studs on the mag draft.
I was hanging meat on the mag
George.
draft.
George, let me tell you something. George redeemed himself over the weekend. He smashed them giants.
Look at that bad boy, Nick. That is a special run color. It's called Ghost Shad Solid. Now, we did, full disclosure, mention this color to you earlier in the year as part of a 3-color run. We didn't ever got it. We had a hiccup in our giddy up, and something happened, and we never received them. Probably all my fault, probably Mike's. I'm not sure. I haven't tracked down the evidence yet, but this color just showed back up again. So you got your, this is probably the base of your best color in the mag draft. The pearl, the albino pearl blue, white back shad, anything in that flavor. So now you got this micro silver flake, that little bit of blue glimmer to it. Yeah. So I wanted to tell you that. The other thing I want to tell you about a mag draft that I've learned with a mag draft, the way this thing is built on the bottom, we're going to find out here. I'm going to show it to you. The way this thing is built on the bottom, it's kind of pretty cool, Nick. So, obviously the mag refers to the magnet. You can kind of see that disc in there, right there.
Turn it so they can see how the hook holds onto it. Turn it upside down.
See how the hook hangs on that magnet. Okay, but what I like to do, they have a little groove down here in the belly. Okay, and it's like shallower here, and it's got a pocket here, and that pocket is designed to be able to put that upward facing hook point in. So if I'm in more open water scenario, I do mine like that. And what I've noticed mag draft fishing is, you'll get these like really intense strikes. Just keep reeling because they don't have the bait. If you set the hook, you miss them every time.
I don't know what they're doing with it.
It's like a really boom. But with this hook configuration in the open water, when you get one that eats it, the hookup ratio is incredible. It's a nice, I'd call that about a number 4 treble hook myself, just eyeballing it.
That's bigger than that.
That's a 4.
It's a 4.
No, what was the number? It's number
Here
3.
we go again.
Not a 5. Not a 5. Is this a 5? I'll bring the shirt next week.
Yeah, you better.
I got the shirt. I'll bring the shirt next week. I'm saying that's a 4.
That's a friggin' 2, dude.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Because it's Japanese, it might be a 3.
It might be a 3.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Good thing it's not a 5.
GDP, bring it on, buddy. That's
You
right.
know what?
That's
Next week I'll wear my number 3 shirt. Then you got the swivel. But the thing I wanted to point out, Nick, was that hook placement. See, most people go with this hook placement, and there's actually grooves molded in the belly for the bend of those hooks to sit on that magnet, okay? I'm not down with that. I'm all about that, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. As soon as that bait hits the water the other way, that hook's just detaching from the, not that that's a problem, because it's not, but it's detaching from the bait.
Yeah.
So if I'm in kind of an open water scenario, like I was fishing around some submerged eelgrass last weekend with it, and I kind of wanted that hook to grab the grass a little bit and I could pop it. But anyways,
I thought you were sticking it into the plastic. Were you sticking it into the plastic?
Well, there's a pocket here. See the hook in that pocket?
Yeah, I know. But when me and you were out, And
you can
and we
stick
caught
it
fish on it, and I think something happened to the magnet. Were you sticking it into the plastic?
no in that pocket.
It was just in that.
So
It holds
see,
it.
there's no pocket here.
It holds it well then, because it
It
didn't
holds
pull
it
out.
great. This works
It didn't.
fantastic.
It didn't pull out.
I'm with George 100%. That works.
Yeah.
See, this,
a lot better.
Yeah.
this, Nick, what you don't understand here, Nick, is this whole pocket here is molded in, right? Up here, no pocket. Back here, pocket. You can see the hook in there.
Hmm.
You guys see the hook in there?
It's amazing. They can see it. It's
And
amazing.
that color? Oh, my.
That's amazing. So that's a new color in stock right now.
In stock. We're going to put some
What-
work in on that color.
What do they call that, mother?
That is called Ghost Shad Solid.
Ghost Shad Solid.
It's a special run color.
Which brings me to the point. You got the solid colors and then the clear colors, and we were
Yeah.
talking about that today with our river, our lakes. They're clearing up because there's no rain anymore. So we were like, ah, man, we caught them on pearl white. Maybe we have to switch up to a chartreuse shad or something with clear plastics. That happens all the time. So there's a lot of reasons for the colors out there in that kind of watercolor. I was going to ask Greg something too about the.
You should probably write that down as soon as that thought enters your head.
Gosh, you ain't shitting.
You talk about a bite window.
I'll tell you what, I think there's a lot
Damn.
of confusion when it comes to buying colors with people.
Yeah,
I really do.
I think so too.
Colors
is a nightmare
Yeah, it is. There's
for a lot of people.
There really is. There's like a saying that I say too. Like I've heard other guys say it too. But cloudy bone, sunny chrome. That's the easiest way to remember it for me, and it just simplifies it.
You know what? That's exactly what we're saying.
Yep.
That's exactly what we're saying.
That's interesting.
That's a
though.
great statement. I'm going to remember that.
That's kind of interesting because
That's a great saying, isn't it, Nick?
Let's talk top water and jerkbait.
Mm-hmm.
Sunny clear water. I like to go to a ghost, and I'm probably making a mistake there on my top water. I don't think so on my jerkbait, but I'm probably making a mistake on my top water. Now I'm going to try. I like that.
It's true. Think about this.
I
mean,
want the flash.
I've spent so much time smallmouth fishing on these big bodies of water. When it's cloudy out, you got to throw bone, cloudy bone,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
can see it.
That's
They can
awesome.
see it.
Yeah.
When it's sunny out, you throw chrome.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely.
I love
I
it.
like it.
I freaking love it.
Yep.
And
Wait.
you know what? I've been making mistakes on that.
A lot of people do.
On top water.
Even on a crankbait or a jerkbait.
I agree with you 100%. My best sunny
Man, how did I do that?
jerkbait color was the what do you call it? The clown.
Wow.
Every time.
Outstanding.
And then if it got cloudy, I would go to something that was more like you're saying, bone.
Yep.
Or
The
even
bone matted finish.
White.
Is really
Opaque.
good.
Opaque.
Yeah,
Opaque.
opaque.
yeah.
Think about it. Think about a rattle trap. On them cloudy days, they bite sexy shad really good.
Yeah, they do.
Sunny days, chrome blue gets them.
Yeah, they do.
You know,
You know something, Greg? You told me something the other day
Man,
about
I
rattle
like
trap
that. I
fishing.
like that. I'm getting some shirts made up.
You told me something the other day about rattle trap.
Cloudy bone,
sunny chrome.
sunny chrome. And I'm going to have a picture of a rattle trap and a dog X on that shirt. Look for them soon.
What did I tell you, Mike?
You told me. See, I forgot already.
That's because my shirt's freaking awesome.
It is.
Okay.
I'm just thinking about where I can get that made at. Actually, no.
Trademark it.
Yeah.
Dropping the knowledge here tonight.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm about to take, I'll tell you who's
I-
kicking ass in shirts right now, and I'm about to take him down is Dan Patrick. I mean, he is smoking the t-shirt business right now. They just sold
Yeah.
1,500
I think we can get 1,500 out
Crappin'
of the
State University t-shirts.
sunny bone or cloudy bone, sunny chrome.
DP's going down, bro.
But I think what we should do is like sunny chrome and have like somebody's bald head on.
Yes.
It, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then like pick out some pro that doesn't have any hair and put them on there. And
yeah.
then the bone George's X-ray picture.
No, we can't do that. We can't do that.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg,
Can't do
what I was trying to say was
What you got?
I've been struggling with straight up rattle trap bite for a couple years now. Now I have moments where my rattle trap bite is, the cold water yo-yo I do really well with, and a couple other instances I do well with. But you're telling me that you're catching a lot of fish on rattle traps.
Oh my god.
And
tons.
it's like now, are you noticing in the Northeast that the rattle trap bite is going away?
No,
No,
not at all.
like Potomac River,
No,
Chesapeake Bay, or is it that we're just not throwing it enough?
not throwing it enough. Everybody's
Yeah.
throwing chatterbaits now.
Everybody's throwing chatterbaits now.
Yep.
Yeah. So we just need to throw it again. Just start throwing
just
it
go
again.
back to if you're on them bodies of water, you're talking probably the springtime a lot, red,
Well,
man.
spring, I mean, like all over too. Like we have lakes and stuff we used to catch them on, and it just
It hasn't gone anywhere. It's bass still eat shad. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But gosh, I mean, it's my favorite technique.
I can honestly tell you
Favorite.
that our sales in our shop on rattle traps have declined.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm just saying they're not exploding like they always were. They were always like running out of colors all the time.
The fullest
And-
box that I carry in my boat is my trap box.
I know your trap box is so impressive. It's unbelievable. And I know you throw them things all the time. And you keep saying that to me every time I see you, like, oh man, the trap bite was unbelievable down here. Oh man, the trap bite was, man, if I catch him on trap, look out, bro. It's over.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just haven't had that the last couple of years, man. My yo-yo thing in the wintertime, it's on. It's my slow roll thing in the fall, it's on.
Yeah.
But
You're
just-
one dimensional.
just that chucking and whining, man, for me, it just slowed up a lot. And when you say rattle trap sales have diminished over the last couple of years,
I mean, I don't want to totally disagree with you, but I'm going to, from the perspective of
so full of shit.
no,
You want to agree with me
no,
about
no.
anything?
I'm not going to totally disagree with you.
I mean,
but
I shouldn't
I
even
gotta sit in the
ask him.
middle?
It's constant. Whatever I say, he's like,
Well,
you're.
Hold on, let's
why-
hear what he's
why-
got. Let's hear
Why
what he's
do
got.
you just?
here, listen me out.
What's the thing you say? Why do you generalize everything?
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that's a problem.
the hell?
Listen to me out.
All right.
So, like, for example, one of the best selling lipless crankbaits that we sell is red eye shad. Red eye shad is average to down,
Yeah.
but
Bill Lewis rattle trap.
Bill Lewis is up, but I think it's because they reinvented themselves.
But it's
They've reinvented themselves with their new ownership group, and they've made their brand relevant again. I don't necessarily know that it's a results based up, but where we're killing it, a Ruku shed.
Yeah, we're killing it in Rukir shad because that's what we've been throwing.
We promoted hard,
and we promoted hard, and we
and
yo-yo
it
that
catches
thing,
fish,
and we
it-
fish a yo-yo technique, which that thing is the best at.
But if you look at the Elite Series the last 2 years, Brian Schmidt,
Yeah,
the Horse Whisperer,
yeah.
those guys are living on that thing.
We did sell a lot of your traps too.
They're
Right.
living on that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I won Gunnersville on it.
Yeah, we sold a lot of those.
Yeah, I bet.
We
Look
did.
at the pegs. They're
We-
empty.
We did, but I'm just saying overall, back in the day when George used to order in,
I bet.
he used to order in like
That's different.
40
era.
boxes of
They're-
chrome and blue half
Different
ounce.
There wasn't a
Uh,
chatterbait back then.
You
No.
know,
Different era.
I'm telling you right now, chatterbait has taken a lot of it
Different era.
because that is a great cold
Yeah.
water bait.
The best thing that happened to your brand, Nomad, was they brought out that
Max, 100%.
which was a straight retrieve bait, and then you won that tournament on it.
There's something else coming too now.
Mm.
Well, hold on, because there's only so many.
Yeah.
It's in the same line. It's just size differences.
There's
Oh,
so many
God.
lipless baits. The one that's really popular from Nomad right now, and I think it's because where we live, we have both saltwater and freshwater guys,
I could probably guess it.
and a lot of our bass guys are striper fishermen, and they bring their striper tactics to the bass world, and they
Mhm.
bring their bass tactics to the striper world.
Does it go into sea?
It begins with a V. The
Oh.
Vertrex.
Oh, well, that's yes.
The Vertrex
Mm.
has. We're completely sold out of. I mean, there is not a Vertrex in this building.
That's very, very unique, that bait. And it's
I-
very versatile.
I think it's
Mhm.
because of where we live. I think our walk-in guys are buying that more than our online guys, and I think it's because I can go backwater striper fishing,
Yeah.
and that's a killer bait
Yep.
because it sinks real good.
2 of the fish I weighed on Champlain this year came on the small one.
Yo-yoing,
Just casting it to them.
casting. I can go to the
Really?
Yep.
I can go to the river and catch smallmouth. I can go to the bay and catch largemouth.
What about them cruisers that
a
you had up
unique
there, and
bait?
those cruisers you had up there on Skinny Atlas?
I don't know. George told me what I got to throw.
They ate that thing nice and quiet.
Wacky.
Wacky worm. All right, George, let's finalize this here deal.
All right. So the next thing I got for you is, and this is a bait, I don't even put these on the website because they don't last that long, but we got a bunch of them in this week.
Can I take one home?
You can.
Yes, you can.
I want to test it.
It's $18.99.
Whatever.
This is called the Mega Bass Karashi. Okay, and it's a small bait. So we're talking on the
Just going back on the wall, or is this one going to somebody's boat?
probably going into your boat.
Let me see the colors real quick. I actually like that one.
All right, so
Really?
we'll get this opened up here.
I got a problem with chartreuse too.
Really?
I'll probably end up with a hook in my hand here, based upon how this is done.
They have tape on them. They tape the caps on them things. Incredible.
So the Karashi is
Karashi.
number 8 hooks. We're talking 2.5 inches long.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking a little bait.
Good hooks.
Already-
Hooks
already-
metal.
it's
See,
already, it's
it
already
hooks-
just
it hooks
just a
metal.
nightmare.
That's how good those hooks are. It goes right through metal.
But it's a very rare bait. South Jersey Bait Reviews is saying they very rarely send them to the U.S. And that's true. It's a Japan-only bait. And, we waited a long time for these. But this bait was originally designed to be fished with the spy bait technique. So a lot of you guys who know this bait are probably going to be like, oh, yeah, that's wrong. But this bait has that spy bait mentality, very subtle on the retrieve. But what a lot of people do with this bait, because it's a slow sinker, is they walk the dog with it underwater. It's kind of an erratic, but this is a fish catching fool.
Yeah, no doubt.
Around here now in the summer, we had low clear water everywhere because of the drought. They were catching fish everywhere, all the lakes, the river, everywhere. Even guys creek fishing. And this year we had that heightened BFS. Everybody's BFS. This is BFS. This is about 3/16 of an ounce.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Is that what it says?
Yep.
I'm glad you can read that. Good God, there was a time. So this is truly a BFS bait. So Karashi, you can call us up if you want. We're not even going to bother putting them on the website because we got 40 or 50 of them in, and they won't be here by the end of the week. We got 4 or 5 colors.
Call us up.
What's this color
Ask
called,
for 'em.
Mike?
That's called
This is called
blueback chartreuse.
I would call it yellow perch.
Yeah, you would be wrong.
I know, but that's what
Try
I'm gonna-
GP Clear Lime Chartreuse.
same thing. That's yellow perch.
That's we call that
It's got
Homer.
the orange on the
We,
belly.
we call that Homer.
No, that's not Homer.
Yeah, greenback chartreuse, baby.
Yeah. Well. How about this guy right here? This is
See, it never agrees with me. That's a greenback chartreuse. It's a Homer.
GLX Frozen Pink.
Is that your favorite one?
Mine is Kasumi Ito.
All right. So when you guys come down, I'll throw this one. You throw your favorite color.
Kasumi Ito.
Well, that's in Jersey.
I'm just saying.
All right. Well, I don't
It's
care.
all shad, but
We'll
there's
try
a
it.
lot of yellow perch.
I
in
don't
there.
do this just for fun.
I do.
So
Everything I do is for fun.
there will have to be money involved.
I came here for fun.
How are me and George going to get on that little boat?
We'll take my big boat.
We can do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and you on the little boat.
No,
That's what I was
all the
worried
big
about.
boat. No. Big boat.
It's got like a 20 horsepower in there to haul his ass, but with me you on there.
It's a 9.9.
What's the free?
That guy on a little boat.
What's the bro? What's the freeboard with me and you get on that thing? It's an
She's
inch and a
gonna be
half.
low.
It'll be fine. It's pretty good.
This one here,
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
is called Wagon Hasu KS.
Let me say it.
KS stands for Kansas.
Yeah, that's like gizzard shad.
Yeah, that's
Green
a
gizzard.
shad. I like the Kasumi Ito. That's my go-to color in like all the finesse baits.
Mhm.
That's my go-to color in like, you
Right.
know, the junior +1, the junior, all of them.
Yeah.
You know, I put some big work in with.
Don't worry,
Kasumi.
Doug. There'll be some here for you.
Karashi.
Karashi.
And then my last item for you is also a Mega Bass item. For a couple reasons. One, we love Mega Bass. We love their products. We love the company. We love the people that work for the company. They support fishermen.
They do.
Mega Bass is a bunch of fishermen
Yeah.
that support fishermen.
fishermen. Yeah.
In case you didn't know that, if you call out the Mega Bass and talk to anybody out there, it's amazing they're even at work because all they do is fish all the time.
Yeah.
But this is a Destroyer P5. But what's cool about this is the Wind Buster, which is what
Ooh,
it's kind of like the most sought after
That
spinning
is.
rod in their lineup
that is
with good reason. It's just a really nice.
all arounder.
And I'm going to give you the George rating on this. What we have here is a little something for everybody.
Fast.
We got a fast 7 foot, hopefully.
Medium heavy.
Nah, I'm going to go medium.
Medium plus.
Yeah, I might give it a plus. 7.2. I mean, it's even better yet.
7.2. Fast.
It's a 7.2 fast, medium to medium plus, P5, super sensitive, beautiful rod, Wind Busters. 5 of them came in today. Just letting you know. Now you know. And that's tackle talk for this week, fellas.
All right.
Next week, I've already got like 5 other products picked out. I can't even wait for next week to get here.
So, Greggy.
Yo,
So, I want to ask you a couple things.
ask away. Mike.
Number one,
remember.
you're up here for your last kayak tournament
I am.
for the year.
Yep.
How was the whole kayak experience for this year? Was it everything you thought it was going to be? Was there super surprises? Was there bad experiences? How was it for you?
I kind of went into it with no caprice. As far as like thinking like how it's gonna be, I really didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I more or less like the Gunnersville event was the first time I ever used it.
Yeah.
I never tried it at home. I literally put it on the trailer and I just backed it in and I got in it in practice, and that was the first time I got it.
That's crazy, man.
It
Good
was.
thing it floated.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's got a plug.
That could have been.
And then, but you learned a lot from that.
Tons.
And then you went home and what'd you do? Did you make a lot of changes right away, or?
I did. Not right away. I did some things right away to kind of suit how I thought I would fish out of it.
Yeah.
And, fast forwarding to this event, I made a lot of changes because not only because I used the boat or the kayak and I thought it needs some changes, but there's a lot of diversity here on this body of water.
Yeah.
And just the way that I fish.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, it's amazing what you did do to the boat. George and I had a chance to really look it over, and knowing you and your personality and your way you fish, this setup you have out here is exactly what you are.
It's me. Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
It's not. Here's
It's not for everybody.
Here's my thought process in the whole entire thing. The way that I have mine rigged. If you guys haven't seen it, I put an Ultrex on my kayak.
Yeah.
Cut the Ultrex down, made it smaller so it fits, did all that stuff.
Foot control
In a kayak.
kayak.
I made a deck on a little tiny small recessed deck inside.
Recessed foot pedal.
Listen, I have really good balance, number one. The kayak is very sturdy by itself.
It is.
But I got real good balance. And in this current this week, you have to have. If I don't fall in this week, I will be surprised.
Yeah.
Did you, when you were younger, did you watch The Karate Kid?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Did you like do wax on, wax off, and the whole?
I mean, it's really.
I framed.
And
for
the
a
reason
long time,
the reason I said it like that was this boat is you. And it's something that So there's people that can rig it like this, and
Yeah, yeah.
people are going to get the benefits of it.
So,
But the majority of people are going to have to either work at it or not do it at all.
yeah, I think
what-
you're either going to love it or hate it. It's one of the two. Listen, I've seen a lot of the comments on it. Guys say it's ruining kayak fishing. It's not a kayak.
Mm.
What is
Strong-
a kayak?
strong
But
words.
here's the deal. Here's the difference. I'm tournament fishing out of this thing. I'm not just using it for recreational use. I need something that's going to suit what I'm doing. And this suits me perfect the way that I rigged it for myself.
That's a good way of putting it. That's exactly the way of putting it.
Yep.
But why would people badmouth it when
Because
there's 8 jillion freaking trolling motors out on the market?
I agree. When you think of a kayak, I think you think of simplicity.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
But
I don't.
It hasn't been like that for years, though.
I know this, and maybe they don't know the other side of it. Like mine is not the fastest kayak by no means.
Yeah.
Guys run these torpedoes, they're blowing right by me.
Exactly.
But I have the ability to fish hands free, which to me is everything.
Yeah.
I have the ability to spot lock.
Yeah.
Which is in this current is a big deal. I can fish these seams properly.
Yeah.
That's huge. And then I can just fish the way I want to fish. If I want a forward facing center arm, guess what? I got on the trolling motor now. Boop, boop, boop. I'll just look for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I love it.
I like it. And
So
and
it suits the way you do it, and it's you didn't do it for any other reason than you didn't do it to change anything. You did it for the way that you
No, but I can tell
fish.
you, I do think that there possibly could be changes from these companies if they see it,
yeah.
because in my opinion, that is a tournament kayak.
Right. And that's the point you told me is like, I don't want anybody to know this, but or think any other way than
Yep.
I built this for tournament fishing. It's
Yep.
a tournament fishing kayak.
Yep. You have to understand. So I have an autopilot, which already has a 45-pound, basically remote controlled trolling motor built into it. When I had it that way, I stood the entire time. I never sat down.
Yeah.
It's just not how I fish.
Right.
This one is 100% how I fish.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's awesome stuff.
well, what it is, guys, is big times here in our neighborhood. We have the Yamaha Right Waters Bassmasters Kayak Series, powered by Tourney X. Final event of the season, tournament number 5, I believe.
It is.
We have Russ Snyder leading the Angler of the Year race with 733 points. Now, pay attention to this. We have Nick Dyer in second with 727. All right, that's 6-point difference. We have GDP in third with 726. Okay. That's a 7-point difference from first to third. So it's anybody's tournament to win.
Yeah.
It's any one of these 3 guys for Angler of the Year. Could be somebody from the back of the pack.
Could be.
Because it goes down kind of tight. They're headquartered in Lewisburg, PA, which is north of the shop here, a good 2 hours. But what's cool is if you want to follow along and follow our main man GDP,
Yeah.
you can tune in at bassmaster.com on Saturday and Sunday and have a live leaderboard. It's kind of similar to what would you call it? Bass Tracks.
Fast track, same thing.
They are going to YouTube, Bassmaster YouTube, the award ceremony on Sunday. So if you want to see one of these guys get the big $8,500 check and the AOY check,
Where are they doing that at? Up at the
hotel in
At the
Lewisburg.
hotel?
Best Western, yeah.
Plus, they're going to finalize the field for the national championship, which is going to be held prior to the Bassmasters Classic next year. 10
Oklahoma.
killer reservoir in Oklahoma.
How close is that to where the classic is?
They're going to weigh in on the stage.
Yeah, but
It's
I'm not sure how close it is, though.
Yeah.
about 45 minutes.
Or 45 minutes.
George's been out that way.
Yeah. I'm all over the place, like Johnny Cash. My good buddy Alan McGuckin lives out there.
Yeah. Right.
So I've been out there, know my way around Oklahoma. But anyways, that's what's coming up on the docket this weekend. It's
That'll
a
be fun.
local. It's local for us. We're excited. And Greg, we wish you the best of luck. But it's fishing.
It is.
And we are in a major league transition period here. So,
we'll see it. That's it.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the whole thing. I think it's going to be a fun time for a lot of people out there. Thing is, there's a lot of fish in the river right now.
I've been here a lot with these guys in the wintertime when it's extremely easy.
Yeah.
This is the toughest I've ever seen the river.
Yeah.
So, but then again, if you want to just catch sheer numbers, they're there.
Oh,
yeah.
But the big fish right now are very hard to find.
Yeah. Yep. They're going to make them work for it this weekend. We're hoping the best. We're hoping that the big ones that do bite on Greg's line, because of course we're voting for him. But
we're ready, boys.
You got anything else, Greggy?
Wow.
Anything you want to say? How long are you off for?
Till January.
Till January?
Yeah.
So we got a lot of good fishing coming up.
Yeah.
Greg will be here also for Bass Fest in January, but we're not going to talk about that now.
Yeah, we're gonna see. We'll see a lot of you, and and the baby's good, growing up crazy.
Yeah, he's doing really, really good.
Yeah,
it's been fun.
That'd be TDP.
TDP.
What do you got in there, cameraman Nick?
You got anything,
Any
Nick?
closing comments?
I got nothing. I'm just excited to see Greg do well this weekend.
Yeah.
I do have a question with this kayak.
What do you got?
They're calling for some rain on Saturday, right?
Not a lot, showers.
Because I'm thinking about a boat. I got bilge pumps and everything like that. How does that work?
Scuppers.
We have scupper holes.
Okay.
So we have holes in the boat.
They got holes in the boat anyway.
Self-draining holes.
All right. Sounds good. I had no idea.
I could never figure that out. They drill all kinds of holes in these boats and they still float. I can't figure it out. All right, guys. Well, that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll see you at the next Tackle Shop Live. Greggy, you just missed it.
I met you on a sunny day. Right there, you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day, you called me up. You told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real.